Hello guys and gals, me Mutahar, and today's video is about misinformation and PayPal. Oh boy, PayPal made a big solid mistake. Enough to be all in the entire world's eye for a little minute. Now, of course, ladies and gentlemen, as somebody on this channel, I've covered a lot of scams, things on the deep web, creepypastas, whatever. I can safely say that throughout my entire YouTube career, I have had to sit down and demystify and be part of something where I've literally had to be a fact checker on this channel numerous times. Some of the most popular videos on this channel have been about fact checking and countering misinformation. Now, misinformation is everywhere in the world, and one thing that I want to start off by saying is, who defines misinformation? Now, let's not be obtuse here, okay? When I think of things like misinformation, I think of obviously statements that are not verified by fact, right? Statements that are objectively false, right? For anybody to make any claim on things regarding medicine, finances, the world, I think experts need to be present. A few experts. Experts that can all sit together, and then you basically take the aggregate of all their information and move on forward. I think a great example is talking about things like the flat earth. There's a conspiracy in the world where people believe that the earth is flat. Obviously, we all know it's a fucking joke, right? Hopefully. I'm sure there's going to be some people in the comments going, hey, Muta, maybe the earth is flat. Now, there's a lot of information out in the world that you yourself can look up, source, and understand that the earth is not actually flat. Just believe whatever they want to believe, and I've been down a path trying to convince people in my life that certain things were wrong, and guess what? At that point, you just have to learn to ignore it and move on with your life, because no amount of convincing is going to matter. But misinformation is information that can easily be countered, and should be easily countered, with actual provable fact. Now that we've gotten past the whole spiel and description of what misinformation is, let's get to PayPal. One of the actual headlines that I saw was, new PayPal policy lets company pull $2,500 from users' accounts if they promote misinformation. Now, misinformation, that's a pretty strong little point there. Can PayPal really fine you $2,500, it seems, per offense of you committing misinformation? Well, how does PayPal, a service that is literally just a payment processor, not a social media platform, get to decide how they fine you? Now, to understand, obviously, misinformation, again, is a problem, but PayPal fining people on their own decision really puts a question up to, are these payment processing services going above and beyond? Obviously, if we look into payment processing services, there's not a whole lot of them out in the world. You've got PayPal, you've got Venmo, which I believe is even owned by PayPal. Actually, wait, let me do a quick fact check on that. Here, right on Venmo's own website, they're part of the PayPal family. Hell, even some of these services are part of other services. They're just part of the same ones. You've got Cash App, you've got the banking system, you've got whatever. And a lot of these services do get to decide on how certain people get to conduct themselves on the internet or in reality. Sites like Visa and MasterCard could literally refuse service to the average website and absolutely cripple them. There was a controversy back in the days regarding an adult website which basically had their entire use restricted by MasterCard and Visa, and it almost spelled doom and gloom to their entire platform. Again, these examples should make you think that there are very few companies in the world that control just the payment processing side of the world that can absolutely control how things are conducted on the internet, okay? And of course, when it comes to legality and finances, I think we all can agree, right, that if it comes to like drug bosses, human traffickers, actual criminals, real criminals, their money should be completely rejected by banks or PayPal or really any payment processor. And it is. We do not allow criminal entities to willingly operate freely in banking systems. But again, when it comes to the average user, okay, now it seems like PayPal, all right, does have some level of grip on the person's conduct regarding their services. If you promote misinformation, as these headlines claim, PayPal can fine you $2,500, which again, it seems like this is per instance. Now again, I looked into it and I decided, hey, in order to understand if this is not misinformation, let's do a fact check ourselves. Now, according to these articles, they link directly to paypalobjects.com/marketing/UA/PDF. So it literally is on PayPal's own website. Now, if you go to that link right now, you'll notice that that link leads you to a blank PDF. So PayPal apparently did walk this back, or they actually claimed that this wasn't even supposed to be a thing, and it kind of just got sent out in error, which does happen from time to time in a company. But since this is a blank PDF, I wanted to see if this was actually something PayPal wanted to do. So all I did was I took this URL, I copied it, I went to our friends over at the Wayback Machine, so I'm going to do it right now in front of you just to prove to you, all right, we can do this all together. Let's go to the Wayback Machine, let's drop that URL right in there, and let's go check in the history for it. So right here, let's go to somewhere around October 6th, and let's click on this snapshot of that page. Now this should show us an actual working PDF. So again, we've got the same PDF URL. Again, if we take this URL right here and we drop it into a brand new, I guess you could say, page, a tab, it'll be a blank PDF. But as of October 6th, Wayback Machine captured this PDF right here, last updated on November 3rd, 2022. So again, you can see that this wasn't really supposed to come out. This is a post date, a month from now, and of course, we're reading it earlier. So again, if we do Control F here and we type in misinformation, right, like so, we'll get sent to point prohibited activities, right? And in prohibited activities 5, this is what we're going to read together. So involving the sending, posting, or publication of any messages, content, or materials that in PayPal's sole discretion, so again, no other arbiter gets to decide what this information is, other than PayPal, it seems, are harmful, obscene, harassing, or objectionable. B, depict or appear to depict nudity, which basically means if you're doing Rule 34 work on or you're commissioning Rule 34 art for people and you use PayPal as your payment processor, you are actually violating their guidelines and they can fine you or probably just remove you right from their service. Again, this really hurts people that are in an entire sector that, makes a lot of money, but apparently the industry or the world around you wants to demonize people for making that kind of money. C, depict or promote illegal drug use. So I guess you can't, I guess this basically says you cannot sell drugs and profit using PayPal as a payment method, right? Depict or promote violence, criminal activity, cruelty, or self-harm. Pretty self-explanatory, okay? Letter E, depict, promote, or incite hatred or discrimination of protected groups or of individuals or groups based on protected characteristics, so race, religion, gender identity, sexual orientation, etc. So I guess you can't, if you're a hate website, all right, specifically if you're like a neo-Nazi website, or you're like just a racist website in general, let's say you're like a nationalist website of any specific race, Black, Hispanic, Indian, Asian, whatever, and you're promoting hatred to other races, PayPal's not going to want to work with you. Simple as that. Most services will not, okay? That shouldn't fucking shock you. Present a risk to user safety or well-being, are fraudulent, promote misinformation, or are unlawful, or then infringe the privacy, intellectual property rights, and or other property rights of any party. So again, if you use a PayPal service for activities that violate any of these, PayPal can basically just restrict your service or I believe fine you. And they have actually written the fine right here. Violation of this acceptable use policy constitutes a violation of the PayPal user agreement and may subject you to damages, including liquidated damages of $2,500 per violation. So again, that would be your live PayPal balance. Now, obviously, I think this point of promote misinformation has people a little bit rightfully worried, right? What do they mean by that? Now, if I have to assume by PayPal's metrics, is if you're running a website or a service or you're selling a product that's actually promoting misinformation, whether that be in regards to medicine or flat earth or any conspiracy, then PayPal can choose to prohibit that or not work with you at all. Now, the fine gets me wondering a little bit too, and I believe a lot of that has to do with the fact that if somebody sells you a scam product, if you will, and scams have already been against the terms of service by PayPal for a long time, but let's say somebody misinforms you. I have to imagine the legal lettering for this usually intends, like, for instance, if somebody out there is selling a PlayStation 5, right? And they have a PlayStation 5 box right here, and they're selling it to you through whatever service. Now, let's say that box, all right, was containing a bunch of rocks. So basically, they probably misinformed you in the entire sale on the internet, and they said, hey, this is a PlayStation 5 in box. They didn't tell you that that box actually consisted of things like rocks. They shipped it to you, you gave them the money, and they ran away with it. Now, of course, if you reported it to PayPal and said, hey, they misinformed me on this product, then PayPal can then fine that person $2,500 right out of their live balance or put them in the negative, which means PayPal can probably cover you and themselves financially in that process. Now that's what I assume PayPal means. I would wish when it comes to acceptable use policies like this, companies are more rigid and specific in their statements. Being this vague can cause a lot of confusion for a lot of parties. And because of this confusion, you have the former CEO of PayPal, the former president, sorry, not CEO, literally criticizing the company. It's hard for me to openly criticize a company I used to love and give so much to, but PayPal's new AUP, Acceptable User Policy, goes against everything I believe in. A private company now gets to decide to take your money if you say something they disagree with. Insanity. Now, of course, he links that same point that we had, and of course, I have to imagine it's a little disingenuous coming from somebody that's a Bitcoin-focused company. So something that's literally competing opposite to PayPal, which is part of the traditional financial framework, right? A little bit of a bias, I would say, here, but I kind of do agree with David, right? Like, why the fuck are we letting private companies suddenly decide how they want to process things with money? And of course, when it comes to money, there's a lot of regulations regarding it too. Look, this would be one thing if you were doing this in part of an actual bank, right? Like if you were dealing with an actual banking service and suddenly they like freeze your accounts or they fine you specifically for doing something that they deem as wrong. I believe there's a lot of legal protections regarding that. But when it comes to PayPal, it doesn't seem like there's a lot of legal protections at all too. PayPal time and time again has absolutely pissed on the faces of its customers too. If you look into a lot of people talking about their money being put on hold, there's countless articles to discuss just about PayPal. But I've even had my own bad experience. I remember when I couldn't even sign into my PayPal account because their two-factor authentication couldn't even send me a text message. I had money in the account that I wanted to get out. I wanted to assist my mother in getting it out too. And guess what, ladies and gentlemen? PayPal, because of their shitty two-factor authentication, couldn't get me in. It took me a month and a half, almost 2 months, to be able to get into the account and siphon the money out. Of course, when it comes to services like PayPal or anything, never keep money in them. They're private companies, they ultimately can do whatever the fuck they want, and there's almost nothing stopping them from it too. It's almost like there's no legal protection preventing PayPal from absolutely fisting its users when it comes to large sums of money. So if you have any money in your PayPal account, never keep it in there. Always pull that shit out. But of course, when it comes to PayPal, a lot of people will take this news and take this information, and it's become sort of political, right? People are wondering if it's going to target them for talking about things on social media or whatever. I have to believe this service has a lot to do with products being sold, payments that are being processed through PayPal, payments of goods and services that may constitute things like misinformation. Of course, that's giving PayPal a lot of the benefit of the doubt, and I kind of have to because at the end of the day, I'm not going to make statements, or I try not to make statements that are absolutely false, because guess what? People do get things wrong all the time, but it is the due diligence of people who have platforms to be as thorough as they can with the truth. Now, of course, I've made those mistakes in the past, and I don't intend to make those mistakes going on into my future. Now, when it comes to misinformation, I think the important thing to discuss here is when we talk about misinformation, right? There is no strong arbiter for what is true. There's no one organization that truly decides if things are actually misinformation or not. I mean, countries have disagreements with each other based on what is objective fact. Now, obviously, as somebody like me, I think that misinformation can easily be countered. Like the current systems that we have on many social medias, where if you talk about controversial topics, a lot of these services will provide you Wikipedia pages, and Wikipedia can be a very reliable source because most articles on Wikipedia have plenty of citations and sources that you can click onto and verify for yourself. But of course, even beyond Wikipedia, there's other sources to look into, sources that have been peer-reviewed, have been aggregated, so on and so forth. As somebody that's on the internet and I've seen misinformation, I always promote to you people that when it comes to looking up controversial things, or really anything, you should always look up as many verified sources as you can and aggregate the information and truly open your mind. Simply sticking to one fact isn't going to get you anywhere, but that's my spiel on misinformation done. Point is, there's not one specific arbiter to it. And when PayPal says they're going to, restrict or fine people based on them promoting misinformation, it really comes down to why is it just their sole discretion? Obviously, when I think of misinformation, there should be a body, there should be a group of people that decide what is and isn't misinformation together. Letting one entity decide at their sole discretion seems kind of fucking weird when it comes to them actually fining you for money. When I think of fines, I think of the government being involved to make sure those fines are levied out appropriately in a legal body. When PayPal can just decide this, I feel like that's not entirely even legal. I'm sure there's some waiver that you signed off anyways that gives them that clearance, but when it comes to waivers, I'm sure that even that can be legally argued in a court of law. Look, I've been looking into this more than I really should have, but part of me was trying to get to the bottom of this. I don't think PayPal is trying to control people's speech or really anything. I think PayPal just wants to be there to cover their own ass when it comes to actual users selling things in bad faith or in misinformation or promoting services that sell things based on misinformation. There's actual genuine misinformation that exists all over the internet, TikTok, Facebook, whatever social media out there. And some people sell things based on misinformation. When they sell things, they use services like PayPal. So of course, it's a question to be made there. I'm sure with the rise of cryptocurrencies, people will eventually, sort of walk away from services like PayPal and take more control of their money, right? But of course, that's a while down the road, all right? And PayPal is at the moment one of the largest payment services out there. But yeah, I wanted to get to the bottom of this, and I wanted to talk about something that was just sort of all over my face. This is something that I've been looking into. Whenever my mind looks at this kind of shit, I want to get to the bottom of it and provide something objective, something truthful, and honestly, I want to make a banger video out of it, just to be honest. So ladies and gentlemen, let me know what you think about it in the comment section below. PayPal did make an oopsie. They've walked back from their oopsie, but it's time to understand just like, I think the takeaway for this video is really just, how do you word something like this where you don't shoot your own company in the foot? And also, who decides at their own sole discretion that they can just start fining you per violation of their TOS or acceptable use policy? It's really wild. It should make you think. And ladies and gentlemen, if you like what you saw, please like, comment, and subscribe. Dislike if you dislike it. Do I think you should siphon all your money out of PayPal? Yes, but not for the reasons that you're reading about on social media. Never keep your money in PayPal. Should you delete your account on PayPal regardless? No. I think a lot of these acceptable use policies are there for consumer protections and for the company protections at the end of the day. But let me know what you think. Ladies and gentlemen, this is me, Mutahar, and I am out.